Hello and welcome to this edition of Fedmail. Thank you for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Hope you're doing well and that you survived that major earthquake we had. No, actually it was just a small rumble here in Central Mass, and I'm sure everyone is doing fine. Just a little excitement before Shabbat. So what do we have going on locally? Well, we're continuing to work behind the states with Worcester State University. As you may recall, a few weeks back, there was an IDF spokesperson who talked about the attacks of October 7th, his own reflections on it and what he saw with his own eyes as a first responder. And you'll remember that that event was shut down. There were disruptors, protesters, fire alarms were pulled. We've been strongly encouraging Worcester State administration to condemn those people who engaged in such anti-academic action and tried to shut down the speaker, but also try to ensure that there's an equal footing for both pro-Israel events to combat all of the anti-Israel events that have taken place there. So I'm very thankful that there are a few community leaders working hard on that. Thank you to City Councilor Mo Bergman. There are several trustees on the Board of Worcester State who are members of the Jewish community who we've been working closely with. But this is a concern for all of us, not only those in the Worcester State community, because it has really become a hotbed of anti-Israel activism, not only on campus, but spreading into the wider community. This month also marks the somber anniversary of the October 7th attacks. It's been 6 months. In the ensuing time, we're all aware of the attempts to rescue the hostages, the major war, the conflict on the northern border of Israel, the multi-front war, as we've seen. And Jewish Federation's own response has been robust. Not only have we had a number of people who have worked, and I'm not talking about just our local community, but nationally, a number of people who have been working on Israel advocacy or volunteering in Israel, planning different types of programs, events, and working on lobbying efforts, but also the major fundraising piece, because as you'll remember, the Israeli economy was hit very, very hard by this. Something like a quarter of the economy contracted in the last quarter of 2023, and things have not recovered since. $800 million has been raised by the Jewish Federation Network, which has been substantial. In our own community, we've raised over $350,000 towards the JFNA effort, but on top of that, which is really impressive, we've also raised an additional $40,000, which has gone directly to organizations on the ground addressing the crisis situation. We've also raised $53,000 alone for American Friends of Megan DeVita Dome to purchase an ambulance, which is an important and urgent need. And we've raised $20,000 for Ne'orim Youth Village, which has brought in and absorbed refugees from this crisis. So our community has really rallied in a generous way, on top of the annual campaign that we are continuing to run, which is at about a 3.2% increase card for card over last year, but there's still a number of cards outstanding. So we have to continue to get those funds in. But really that says something. It says something about the fact that we know when it's important to rally. We view this as an emergency. We view the challenge as one that we can overcome. And I just want to make sure to say thank you for that. Also, this was a very difficult week in Israel. Of course, many of us are aware that workers from World Central Kitchen, one of the humanitarian groups in Gaza, was fired upon by the IDF, and their motorcade, their convoy, was hit, and several aid workers were killed, which created a lot of tension among our allies and around the world. Israel, of course, as a country that upholds accountability, fired the 2 officers who were responsible for this after a probe, an inquiry into the situation. And as I had mentioned to many people on a one-to-one basis, Israel never benefits from something like this happening, but in the fog of war, terrible mistakes are made, and it was a very difficult week, to say the least. Also, Israel continues to be on high alert, and ADL and SCN, 2 organizations domestically in the United States, also made an announcement related to Iranian threats on Jewish and Israeli targets in reprisal, in response to an Iranian leader from the Revolutionary Guard being killed in an IDF attack earlier this week. Hezbollah and Iran both say that they are absolutely going to strike back, and I know that a number of announcements have been made within Israel to prepare Israeli citizens for what might come. So we're watching that very closely, and hoping that these attacks don't happen and that Israel can mitigate the risk, so to speak. Also, this Friday marked the end of the Muslim holiday of Ramadan, and if you'll remember, there were terror groups around the world, Hezbollah, Hamas included, which encouraged their followers to use the holiday as a time to launch terror attacks. And thankfully, it was somewhat quiet over the last several weeks, and today's prayers on the Temple Mount ended without incident, which is a welcome development. So happy to report that. In our own community, we have a lot going on this week. Tomorrow, Shabbat, Tat Shabbat at B'nai Shalom with pumpernickel puppets. Always nice for the kids to get out to enjoy that. On Sunday, there are several events. First, there's an event, a trip to the American Heritage Museum in Hudson, which is an amazing facility. This is taking place on Sunday the 7th, and they have a Holocaust exhibit there right now. So we are encouraging you to sign up for that trip if you haven't yet already. We'd love to see you. Yad B'Yad, a group from Beth Tikva, is holding a special Passover program on Sunday as well. And coming up next week, there is a book release, The First Murder, a book by Carol Goodman Kaufman from our own community, is holding a book release at Tide Pool Books. Tide Pool Books here in Worcester, which is a really nice facility itself. And then there is an Israeli wine tasting being led by Dolev, our shaliach, our Israeli shaliach, next week at Beth Israel on the 13th. So Israeli wine tasting with our Israeli shaliach Dolev on the 13th. In the meantime, I know you're all getting ready for Passover. Looking forward to seeing you for the community seders. Make sure if you have any Passover needs, you contact us. We'll put you in touch with one of the congregations who are doing something, or we'll take care of it ourselves if need be, depending on the appropriate course of action. Thank you once again for all of your support of our various campaigns and activities, both related to Israel and our annual campaign in the community. Keep up the great work. And remember, this is a somber 6-month anniversary of the October 7th attacks this weekend. And we mustn't forget all of the hostages who continue to remain in captivity, which can't even imagine what a terrible situation that is. So keep them in your prayers, certainly over this Shabbat and this weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.